So I've been flying helicopters a lot lately in Microsoft Flight Sim, DCS World, and even X-Plane. And so I think it's time we finally get some dedicated helicopter-specific hardware. And so today we're gonna attempt to convert my NextLevelRacing Flight Sim chair into a helicopter setup, which I'm not even sure can be done. So we're gonna give it a try. So for our helicopter control set, we're of course using all Virpil controls. We have the VPC Rotor TCS base here, which is the base that's going to mount onto our Apache collective grip. Let's take a quick look at it. I did kind of take a sneak peek at this, so nothing is in the plastic wrapping right now. So this here is the base, decent weight. It's not too heavy, pretty fairly lightweight. This here on the base part is metal. This base here is metal. This shiny part here is metal, but this grip here, this throttle grip, is actually plastic. But again, it is kind of wrapped around that metal, so it is gonna be pretty durable. You also have kind of like a way to lock it here, if you can see that. So now I can twist it all the way around, or I can lock it down so it doesn't move. But yeah, so we have a USB port here in the back, and then we have a auxiliary port here as well. And then we have a nice little place here for some wire management to hang our wires. Not sure if you can see that very well on the camera, but yeah, so we'll be hooking up our Apache collective or grip to this base here. So that comes in the box. Obviously, you have all the wires that are needed to make this work. A very nice long USB cord. I like that. I like it when they give you long cables, because sometimes you're not close to what you need to connect to. As well as a sticker set here, so you can kind of, label your throttle. All right, next we have the Apache VPC collective grip. I'm actually really excited about this. Let's go ahead and break it out of the box really quickly. Again, I've already kind of looked at some of these, so there may be plastic missing. And here she is in the box. We'll reach in and grab it, take it out, and there it is. The Apache, it's pretty large. You can see just how big that is. So all the buttons are here. I will say this is completely, like, everything is plastic. So it's extremely light. I think this underneath is a little metal maybe, but everything, all the buttons are plastic. Everything. So if that bothers you, then that might be an issue. But we'll see. We'll try it out. But yeah, plenty of buttons here to replicate and mimic the Apache control set. So this is going to mount from right here down to our base, and that's just how it works. So looking forward to seeing how that works and seeing how different it's going to be actually using a collective. Hopefully button mapping is easy. Okay, next we'll try out the Mongoose T50 base. This is the flight stick base. So we'll go ahead and open that up. Here it is. This is the Mongoose base by Virpil. And unlike the Apache grip, this is pretty much completely all metal, or aluminum, I probably should say. But this looks pretty durable. Can't really move this by my hand right now. I think it's probably like tightened or something. But you just have your USB and your aux cable in the back. I'm not sure what the aux cable is for. Is that for sound? I don't know. And then on the bottom you have a few screws. I'm assuming we'll figure out the mounting, how to mount this. But yeah, we have plenty of screws kind of hanging around here. It's a base. It's not force feedback, of course, but it's supposed to be really good from what I hear. So I'm looking forward to trying it. Of course, we got the wires. No surprise there. And then it also includes a little baggie with a few different types of springs. I'm not sure you can see that on camera or not. And then some other things in here. I don't even know what these are. I have to look at the instructions, but some little metal pieces. So basically, it looks like it's customizable and adjustable. So that's good. So we'll have to try that out. And lastly today, we have the VPC Alpha Prime grip. So let's go ahead and hit this out and see what it's like. And here it is. It's very unique looking. Like this little head here reminds me of like an alien or something like that. Like I feel like I might want to use this for a space sim, but it is a kind of a more generic controller. It has a lot of the buttons that I'm used to having on my normal joysticks. We have this kind of like pinky switch here in the back. We have a dual stage trigger. We have lots of buttons, and honestly, if you're doing DCS, flight sim, space sim, you need a joystick handle or grip with a lot of buttons and also a lot of customization. So it has a kind of like a roll axis or something like that going on here. So pretty cool. Looking forward to seeing how we can make this work for us. But it's kind of, is it plastic? It feels more like an aluminum. The buttons themselves are plastic for sure. but the actual handle itself is pretty durable, pretty thick. It's either a very thick plastic or it's a very light or aluminum. So either or, it does feel good. It doesn't feel cheap at all. That's the question. So it feels good. But actually interesting, this little trigger here goes like down, you can click it back and it pushes up. I've never seen a joystick do that before. So interesting. Looking forward to seeing how we can make this work in the simulator. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, we also have this is not a pipe, this is an extension for the joystick. So like if your bass is really low, you can actually attach this to the bass and then hook your joystick on the top of this in case you need it to sit higher. But I'm not sure if we're gonna need this yet. We might not. So if we do, I'll definitely show you. But that doesn't come with it. I think this actually comes separate. So, but I did get this from Virpil as well. As you can see here, I now have the Virpil Alpha Prime grip on top of the CM3 Mongoose base, and if I can set it down here, you can see just kind of what that axis feels like if I let it go there. So it has that centering tension there. It's fairly, I wouldn't say it's super tight, but it is fairly tight. And in my particular case, you know, I want to customize this kind of for my liking. I'm planning on using this as my dedicated helicopter base, and with it recentering like this is not what I want. But the good thing about the Virpil bases is that you can actually customize them, and they have that in mind. You could actually adjust kind of some of the tension from here, here, and then also if we remove these rubber caps, you can customize them even more. So remove these rubber caps here, and we find out which one of these wrenches will work for it. Is it this one? Yeah, so I can actually adjust that, and we can loosen it or tighten it, depends on it. You know, so one of these is for kind of the pitch, and then the other is for the rotation. So if I just kind of rotate these a little bit, we'll see how loose we can get it, because I want it to be fairly loose. I'm not sure which way is loose. I mean, I guess lefty loosey, right? Righty tighty. So we'll try that. So I'm gonna go here and loosen that a bunch. And you can already tell it's getting a lot more loose, which is actually good, right? That's actually really good. So I'm gonna loosen it some more. Let's see how much we can loosen this baby. Because I want it to, you know, I want kind of like a more of a dead stick style feel. You know, in the helicopter, your joystick is very, very, or I should say your cyclic is very, very loose and fairly sensitive. So you don't want a lot of centering, right? So you can feel this now just from a little adjustment. Look at that, it's already, that's actually pretty nice. That's actually pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. Now it is still kind of trying to recenter itself there. And so we're gonna go a little bit beyond this, and we're gonna kind of go outside of my own box and outside of the CM3 box to kind of make this do exactly what I want to do. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually open this baby up. So depending on what you wanna do, like I said, it's good for customization, this base, but depending on what you wanna do, we're gonna remove, just gonna remove this grip. So you keep just spin it here on the bottom, and then it comes right out. There's a plug on the bottom, and now we'll have a bit more freedom. So, you know, that feels okay, but again, I kind of want something a bit more, even more free than this, because you still are feeling kind of the end of that notch as you get to the end. So what we're gonna do is flip this baby over, and we're gonna open her up. Now, like I said, this is outside of the box for me. I'm not normally the kind of person who opens up my joysticks. As a matter of fact, I've never opened any of the joysticks I've owned or bases, but it seems that Virpil has kind of kept that in mind. A lot of Virpil's customers and users tend to like to kind of get their hands dirty and get inside and make little tweaks and adjustments, and that's why, as I get this base off, we have this pack that comes in the box. There's a bunch of little cams in here to help you adjust the axis feel. So this was kind of made and built for you to actually customize it. So I've kind of loosened it. These are very easy to get out. And again, I'm not in any way a handyman. I'm not a DIY type of person. That is not my style. I like, honestly, personally, to get my hardware working as I want them when I want them. So there's the inside right there. but we need to kind of get in here even more. Yeah, so I do want to make a quick shout out to another YouTube channel called Noobifier, because everything I'm doing here is basically after watching his tutorial. I'll drop a link in the description to his video for a better breakdown of exactly how he broke this down. But anyways, this is the USB slot here where you'd plug in your USB and everything like that. There's actually a few pins in here that we need to disconnect. We can't take this whole casing off without taking this off. So I'll go ahead and take this USB pin out of here first. Want to make sure we stay safe, right? We don't want to break that. It's just going to very easily just slide right out, just like that. So you have the pins right there. So again, do not want to break those pins. That is very important. That'll break everything. So let's move up to the side. And now we can put this back on its base here, and we'll continue unscrewing the top. All right, there we go. I've gotten the top pieces off, and now we should be able to just slide this baby off just like that. Nice. So this is crazy. I literally never do this kind of thing. I feel like I don't know. Yeah. Right here is the little cams. So right here is one of the cams, and then right here is one of the cams. And as I mentioned earlier, in the box you get these little replacer cams, and they're all shaped a little bit different depending on exactly the feel you want. And it's the thing, this is why it's customizable, right? But you do kind of have to get in here and get inside and actually kind of do the work to customize. So it's going to take you some time depending on exactly the feel you want, whether you're flying helicopters, warbirds, or airliners or jets, whatever, to finally get the right thing. So if I go ahead and kind of rotate this, you can kind of feel exactly, you can see what it's doing there. So that is kind of how it works. Pretty interesting. My first time kind of dissecting a joystick base. So interesting, but you see how like it's kind of like it's not smooth. Even though it's moving, it's not. It kind of has this little click right here. I'm not sure why. But I want this smooth. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be taking this entire thing off, because I don't want any of this. I want the stick to just kind of hang, and we'll have the stick be dependent on this piece right here, which I believe they call the clutch. And what we can do is we can tighten it from right there. You see, there's the where you tighten it at, and then that's what you're tightening. And there's another one in the back which tightens this one behind the electronics here. So we're gonna basically have it all depend on those two things to hopefully make it get the feeling we want. So if you wanted to here, go ahead and swap out the cams. You can do that right now. But what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go ahead and take these completely off. So the way that we do that, again, big thanks to Noobifier's YouTube channel for teaching everybody how to do this, because again, this is very out of my comfort zone. Which one was I using? Was it this one? Yeah. So it's very outside of my comfort zone. It's going to get a little messy. It's going to be some springs in here. Now, also, yes, so also there's some springs that come with this. There's tighter springs and looser springs. The springs that are in here already are okay. And look at that. See that? See how that kind of already fell off right there? And this one is already, so there it is. So now, when I rotate it, there's no notches, there's no notchy feeling. I mean, it's very buttery smooth now, and this is honestly what I want right here. That's what I want. So we're gonna go ahead and take these screws out. Again, it's gonna get a little messy, it's a little greasy, these screws. There it is, there's the spring. And I'm gonna save these in case, in the future I need to keep them. But again, I am planning for this to be my dedicated helicopter setup. And so I don't have any intentions on reinstalling these unless I do all this and find out that I don't actually like how it feels and I have to reinstall everything. So hopefully it doesn't happen, but we'll try. So let's see. So at this point, we're basically done. We could just leave these hanging here, but I'm gonna actually end up removing this arm completely, because since on my rig I have a butt kicker and my whole chair shakes pretty aggressively during gaming. It would actually kind of push these out eventually, and they would just scrape the bottom of the actual base casing, and that would probably create some kind of rattling sound in the future. So to avoid that, I'm just going to remove this entire arm, and again, I'm going to keep it nice and clean. So if I ever need to reassemble this, I have all the pieces that I need to do it. So we're gonna be using an 8mm here on the wrench to go ahead and undo this. And there we go. So it's gonna slide right off. A little bit of grease in there, nothing to worry about. All right, and there's the last piece coming off now. And while doing this, I'm like sitting here like, man, I really hope this works, because I've definitely gone way beyond modifying this than I have ever done on any piece of hardware. And again, very outside of my comfort zone here. So we'll go ahead and now we got everything off that we want to get off. We'll go ahead and put the case back on, and we'll put all this rest of this stuff back in a little baggie. And now it's time to put it back together. So we'll take this and we'll slide that back in here very gently. We'll grab our screws and put these back where they're supposed to go on all 4 sides. The case is all back on, and that's it. We've got it back on, and if I shake it around, you don't hear any jingling, no moving equipment on the inside, which is the reason why I completely removed those arms. If we set it back down, we can now mess with this. We can actually adjust everything else via these little screw ports. So we'll do that now. And there we go. So now check it out. So look how it kind of just slouches there. It kind of leans either direction. Now we're gonna have to fine tune this tension here to make sure that it doesn't just kind of, you know, be how we want it. If you want to kind of be able to just hang around like that, that's fine. If you feel go to the back, it kind of comes back forward, so you want to adjust that a little bit. So this bottom one here is the left and right tension. So I just want to have it so that when I move it to a direction, it just stays exactly where I left it. So I'm only going to tighten it until it's just strong enough to hold it where it's at. And then we'll do the pitch the exact same way. So turning it to the right, there it is. See how it's staying where it's supposed to be at? See that? That right there is exactly what I want. So the way that the Virpil base mounts with the NextLevelRacing center mount is, first you want to remove that bottom plate, and you're going to actually match it with these 4 corners here. They match perfectly. So you can tell NextLevelRacing had Virpil in mind in bases like this. So we're actually going to go ahead and put this down like this. I'm going to take the original screws and the base. Now you could leave the base off if you want, or you can put the base back on. I think I'm going to leave the base off just for easier mounting, because I may have to mount other bases to this in the future. But basically I'm going to put the screw through here like that. And there it is. So now we have the Virpil base attached to the actual NextLevelRacing center mount. All right, and now I'm just going to install this middle post onto the center of the NextLevelRacing flight sim chair. And again, this pole does come with the chair. All right, there it is. I have the Alpha Prime joystick grip now hooked up to the CM3, and it is now center mounted to my Thrustmaster NextLevelRacing flight sim chair. If you've never seen this chair before, this right here is actually the yoke plate. This is where I would mount my honeycomb yoke or my Thrustmaster Boeing yoke. But today we're using the joystick, and you can see there with the adjustments that I've made. And then also, again, because we're trying to convert this to a helicopter setup, I also have my Apache grip and the helicopter collective mounted onto the side of the NextLevelRacing Boeing chair. And NextLevelRacing did not really have helicopters in mind when they built this chair. It was for flight sim, but they did not have helicopters in mind. So I had to do a bit of a modification to make it work. But it's a fairly simple modification. You see here, I have it mounted on the left side. Now this plate right here, if you've seen this chair before, you're used to seeing this plate kind of, it's upside down, right? So you see on the other side here, we have the plate here, and that's just the normal way that the plate sits. And so what I did is I actually basically flipped this over here on the right side, and I mounted the base of the helicopter collective there to there. So it's notched in with just that one screw. It's kind of hard to see, it's very dark right there, but yeah, so that's kind of how I did it. I pushed it all the way back as far as I could to the final hole right before the seat belt. Now you could actually put it into these two slots as well if you needed to, but that's just the way that I did it. So we'll see if that works for us. This is kind of a trial and error kind of deal. There it is, has a full range of motion, about 50 degrees or so, and there is a way to adjust that should you want to. But there it is, guys. Have it mounted. It took a little bit of work to get this figured out with my setup, but I think it's gonna be worth it. I think it's gonna be worth it. All right, before we can hop in the sim, I got one final adjustment to make to the Virpil collective base. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have 50 degrees here of rotation. Well, I don't want that. That's a bit too much for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew this, and we're gonna go inside of the base and make some changes. All right, there we go. So we're taking the plate off, just like that. And now we can see the inside. Obviously, we want to be careful in here. Now, what we're mainly going to be adjusting is this guy right here. So if I readjust the camera, you can see this right here is actually the cam that we need to adjust. By default, it's set to 50. It says 50 right here. There's also a 40 and a 30. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this cam, we're gonna turn it and put it into the 30 position, so that way it limits the axis to only 30 degrees. I'm just gonna reach in here and take it out. Oh, dropped it. And we're just gonna rotate it until we get to 30, because I want 30 degrees of rotation. So we're gonna stick it back in here. Here we go, and our cam has been repositioned for 30 degrees. Now we'll put it all back together, and then we can finally try it. Okay, I have the cover back on, and it's set to 30 degrees, and everything's still working. I still feel like it's more than I thought, but I guess it's fine. We'll make it work for now. I may go back in there and double check that I installed it correctly, but that's supposed to be, I guess, 30 degrees now. All right, now we're gonna open up the Virpil configuration tool to get our joystick and collective set up. Now, I've actually already set up the Rotor collective already, so I'm not gonna redo that because it's gonna reset all of my settings, but we will do it for the stick. So if we go to the stick, it says it's outdated firmware. So we'll just go over to the firmware button, click on start firmware update, and that'll go ahead and automatically update our firmware. All right, there it is. Now that we've updated the firmware, it can now detect what we have plugged in. So we have the VPC Mongoose base and the Alpha Prime stick. Now it's gonna ask here, which side is your device? And because I'm gonna be using my right hand for the joystick, I'll set right. And then we'll just hit create profile. And then we can go over to the access panel. We can actually test our access. So if you have an issue where you have these red boxes here, that means that something is not connected correctly. And for this actually happened to me on the Rotor base as well. And most likely it's the actual plug on the bottom of your joystick that is not actually plugged in correctly. So you make sure you can pull that out and stick that back in there and try it again. So again, make sure that your stick is actually plugged in to your base and not just screwed on. And also make sure the lights come on the joystick. If the lights do not come on, you do not have it connected correctly. So now that everything is calibrated, we'll save that calibration profile. So now, after confirming that the stick was actually plugged in and the lights are lit up, doing a calibration and firmware update, you can now see we no longer have any red boxes showing up here. All of my axes are working on the stick and on the base. So that is good and ready to go. I think we're all ready to go and hop into the sim. Finally, we are in the simulator and we are in the Apache AH64 here on DCS World with the JTF Mad Dog Desert livery. Let's hop into the cockpit and give us a try. I've been waiting a long time to try this. As you can see on the top left of your screen, you can actually see my control input, so pay attention to that. So you see, as I push it forward and I leave it there, that position stays put. As I pull back and leave it there, that position stays put. Same thing left to right. So I did fine tune it a bit better before hitting record here. So let's go ahead and give it a try. This is my first time trying it. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna pull up. All right, that is working. I might have to make some adjustments to that, but that is working. Pulling up on the collective now. Pulling back a little bit on the cyclic or the joystick. More power, more power. All right, we're pulling backwards. We'll push that back forward. A little bit of right anti-torque pedal or right rudder pedal. Still pulling up on the collective. All right, there we go. So I'm having to pull up quite a lot. That's something I'm gonna have to definitely change. Looking a bit sketchy. Let's get off the ground here. Pull up a little bit more. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay. You're good. You're good. You're good. I'm not used to this. This is different. This is weird. This is weird. Gonna take some getting used to. All right. We are definitely a little squirrely. Let's get away from the equipment, shall we? All right. Let's just start flying. Let's go forward. And yeah, this is gonna take some getting used to. A lot of getting used to. And oh my god. All right. So, oh boy. All right, chill. As some of you may know, if you've flown the Apache before, it can be a little tricky to fly in general, but I have to get used to a new feeling on the axis here. Again, we don't have that centering. Let's watch out for this tree here, that palm tree. Come on, baby. Come on, power, power. Don't fall. Oh my god. Ooh. Why am I so stressed right now? Alright, we know how to do this. I've done this before. Alright. I'm barely, as you can see on my fingertips, I'm barely using my fingertips to keep it straight. I'm just overcorrecting because I'm not used to not having the spring, you know, the auto centering spring. So we'll go ahead and head this way. We do have a easy flight plan to some targets, but bit of a flight test and get used to how this works. Pulling upward to add power with the collective, pushing downward to lose that power. And yeah, this is gonna take some getting used to, finding that sweet spot. And again, I don't have to necessarily trim anymore. I should not have to trim. Now the rudder pedals I'm using, which are actually the Thrustmaster TPRs, don't have, like, they still have the centering spring, so that's not gonna auto trim for me, but I'll have to watch. Oh, we're going into VRS here for some reason. We'll add some power in. There we go. Whew. Oh my gosh. Alright, so I'm gonna try my luck at trimming while flying forward here. So I'm just gonna push a little bit forward there and see if I can get to a position where I can just let go of the joystick. It's fine. I mean, I'm able to make very fine adjustments, but it's just I am not used to doing it this way. I mean, right now I can let go. Now, obviously we're falling, but I think maybe the left and right might be a little too sensitive. I might have to turn that down a bit because I'm really struggling with the left and right. The pitchy, I'm not too pitchy. It's okay forward and back here in the joystick, but like I find myself rocking very easily left to right, so I might tighten that axis, which I can do. Let's go ahead and talk to George and get him up and going.
Aircraft's armed.
Alright, let's see if we can get to a hover here, right south of the range, so that George can start picking up some targets for us. Alright, power, power, power. A lot more power, please. Yeah, I'm definitely going to adjust the range and curve of the collective because I'm having to pull it what feels like way too much to actually kind of get more power, which I think is why I'm losing out to so quickly. But here we go, trying to get into a hover here for the first time. And I mean, I really just using the tips of my fingers here to move the actual cyclic or joystick. Alright, so we're at 0 knots actual ground speed, but we just got to get our altitude situated here. I'm not using the autopilot just for for testing and for practice. But getting close. If I can just get the right sweet spot. All right, now we're rolling backwards. Oh, this is gonna be, this is gonna take some time to get used to here. This really is. I feel like I'm flying a helicopter for the first time. I really do. All right, losing altitude again, and we're going backwards. All right, is that it? Did I get it? Are we hovering? We're close. There's just so much going on. I'm moving my feet, I'm moving my left hand, I'm moving my right hand. Come on. We're also hovering really close to the ground. Here's VRS! Break out of it, break out of it, break out of it. Okay, saved it. Sheesh. All right, man. Yeah, I'm so not used to the dead stick free flowing joystick. It's so different than having that, you know, auto centering joysticks like I'm used to, that I'm definitely overcorrecting very badly. Really badly. Come on, we're so close to figuring it out. Okay, that's the most stable we have been. Whew, okay, I think we're there. I think we're there. I'm just gonna try to land it right here, since we kind of got it in a, we had it sort of in a fairly stable hover there. All right, don't come down too fast. Ease her down. Ease it down. Doesn't help that I don't have my horizon up. I haven't mapped that button yet. Come on. Bring it down, 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 bring it down. Bring it down, softly, gently. Suavemente. Come on. There it is. There it is.
Aircraft's
We did it. We're on the ground. Oh my god. Wow. All right. Well, I need practice, but the setup is complete for the most part. There is some tuning to do to the probably some of the axes, some of the tension, some of the curves, things like that, sensitivity. But we got it set up, and I'm excited. I'm happy, man. I'm looking forward to doing some more helicopter flying and getting better at it as well. But hopefully this was helpful to you, and let me know your thoughts on the setup or even tips. Maybe you've done this before. Maybe you fly helicopters. Maybe you're more experienced. Definitely leave those comments down in the comment section down below. All right, so my first flight was a little stressful, but honestly, all the setup wasn't too bad. I was expecting it to be much worse. But huge shout out to Virpil for making this whole thing possible, and shout out to you guys as well. And thank you so much for watching. Remember, you have 3 choices: give up, give in, and give it all you got. Peace, love, and God bless you. I'll see you guys next time, next video. I'm out.